Welcome back to Behind the Caution Tape. I'm your host, CrashLit. It's been a busy week for USC athletics, so let's get into all of it. And let's start out with this hoodie. Actually, there's some ugly Christmas sweater I'm wearing. So it was a giveaway last night at the USC men's basketball game against Montana State. I didn't put it on until after the game, but I did promise some people that I'd wear it because I didn't put it on during the game. I told them explicitly, I will wear this tomorrow on my podcast for the video version. So hope y'all, for those of you watching on YouTube, hope y'all enjoying it. But yeah, it's a great sweatshirt, real sweater, really comfortable. So, and yeah, I got to take a pic with Eric Musselman in it last night. I will get to that later in the episode when we talk about men's basketball. But anyways, as always, make sure to follow me on social media at CrashLit everywhere. Make sure to subscribe to this podcast wherever you listen. And if you're on YouTube, make sure to subscribe to my channel at CrashLit to get the latest updates on everything, and check out my website, crashlit.com. Without further ado, let's now get into our first topic today, football. So, last week, the 2025 football schedule was released, and there's definitely a lot to talk about there. So we'll start off with just kind of quickly run through the games and just go through it all, and just I'll give my overall thoughts on what I think of it. So, 2025 schedule starts off on August 30th, USC hosts Missouri State. September 6th, Georgia Southern, the return of Clay Helton. September 13th at Purdue. September 20th at versus Michigan State. September 27th at Illinois. And then there's a bye between that and then the game on October 11th against Michigan at home. And then on October 18th at Notre Dame. Then another bye week between that and then another away game at Nebraska and Lincoln. Then November 8th, USC hosts Northwestern. November 15th, Iowa comes to the Coliseum. November 22nd, USC visits Oregon. So, blood will spill at Auntie Kim. Here we go. And then to close out the season on November 29th, will be UCLA comes to the Coliseum for the annual Crosstown Showdown. So overall, I think definitely much more manageable schedule than last year. Obviously, this year's schedule is really brutal. Definitely still some tough matchups in there for sure. Obviously, Notre Dame, Iowa, Nebraska, Michigan, all could be tough games. But really, you don't know what's going to happen in any game, and definitely Oregon too. But definitely kind of that middle stretch of the season seems to be tough. But then really, it just all depends on how this team comes out. And I think obviously the bowl games can be big for momentum. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how things go this offseason and how the team starts to position itself for next season, especially some interesting matchups. Obviously, Missouri State is coming. They are FCS right now, but for those of you FBS lovers who are hell-bent on never seeing USC play an FCS team, they will be FCS by the time they show up to the Coliseum. They are transitioning next season. And then obviously Georgia Southern is the Clay Helton game. So former USC coach Clay Helton will make his return to the Coliseum for the first time since being fired in 2021. So definitely be interesting to have him on the other sideline. Obviously some other interesting games as well throughout the season. Obviously Oregon due to my Aunt Kim. It's a good one. UCLA, of course, always a rivalry game. Notre Dame, rivalry game. Michigan, really all these games, for one reason or another, they got some level of intrigue to me in a different way, just because of it's kind of an interesting schedule, just all the different pieces. And I could go through all of them really, but even just the ones I listed, there's always just something interesting that you just catches your eye about every one of these teams. So I'm really fascinated to see how this 2025 season plays out. On to some all-conference and all-American awards. USC punter Eddie Czaplicki made the AP All-Big Ten first team, and offensive lineman Emmanuel Pregnon and running back Woody Marks made the AP All-Big Ten second team. And then a big congrats to Czaplicki as well, as he was named a first-team All-American. And he was also USC's first ever Ray Guy Award winner, which is presented to the nation's top punter. And as I talked about before, either last week or a couple weeks ago, Czaplicki has been really critical to this team, especially for just how his ability to just pin teams deep in their own territory and really force them to have to move the ball down the field to score without even really ever giving up touchbacks. He had a streak going for a really long time that unfortunately got snapped against Notre Dame when he finally kicked the ball a little too far. But overall, it's just really impressive to see how deep he could pin the ball while also not giving up touchbacks, which is absolutely incredible. Now, on to some transfer portal news. USC did have some lot more guys enter with the portal officially opening last week. Didn't really get a chance to talk about too much, even though some news was breaking either right as I started recording or during or right after, so I wasn't able to talk on it because I'd already had my research done and prepared with what I was going to talk about. But two big losses that came out, one of them pretty much right after I signed off and I was looking through my phone, was running back Quentin Joyner entered the portal, as well as wide receiver Deuce Robinson. Those are both two big blows to the Trojans. Joyner especially because even though he was behind Woody Marks or Marshawn Lloyd over the past years, when he got the ball, he shined. And so for those reasons, it was always just incredible to see him just really absolutely dominate and just never have an issue, just really tearing up apart defenses. So it's definitely a blow for the USC, but I feel like I mean, it's a shock, but at the same time, I feel like he may have been frustrated seeing how Lincoln Riley not always going to the run game and not having a perfectly balanced attack. That may have frustrated him, as well as what if Riley brings in another guy like Marshawn Lloyd or Woody Marks again, who's a graduate transfer. So really, it's just we'll see what happens. I wish them the best of luck. It's definitely a blow, but I'm confident USC will figure something out to have a balanced offense this next season. Another big loss that I think in the portal this past week was Deuce Robinson, wide receiver. Definitely really good player. Obviously, really good. He was able to use his size a lot, but I think it sounded like he's kind of frustrated a little bit with how many receptions and targets he was getting. So, for those reasons, it seems like he's looking for a new opportunity. One thing that does intrigue me about him, though, is he going to continue his baseball career elsewhere? Because his name is still, for the time being, and I get this may just be timing right now, is still on the baseball roster, the fall ball baseball roster, and was all fall, even though I don't think he was with the team much due to NCAA rules permitting how much he could practice baseball while also football. But I'm definitely curious to see, does he play baseball at his new school? We will find out soon. And then meanwhile, USC has picked up one player so far. So far, cornerback DJ Harvey out of San Jose State is the only player USC has gotten out of the portal. It's a good addition since the cornerback room is getting a little thin right now. Cornerback Chase Johnson from UCF was initially committed, but has since flipped to SMU, so he will be a Mustang and not a Trojan, contrary to what we initially all thought. Meanwhile, Miller Moss, who entered the portal pretty much as soon as the regular season ended, announced that he will be transferring to Louisville, which I think is interesting considering he torched the Cardinals almost a year ago in the Holiday Bowl. But you know what? He had to make the best decision for himself after getting benched, and I wish him all the best with the Cardinals next season. Meanwhile, quarterback Jane Mayava told media on Thursday that he will be staying at USC. So I think that's good. And I think, as I've said, I'm confident that he can be a really good fit for Lincoln Riley's air raid type offense and I think he can be the guy. That said, I do want to see how he does against Houston Longstreet and whoever else Lincoln Riley says the team gets out of the portal. Because Riley has said that he intends to get someone out of the portal this offseason to add depth to the quarterback room, especially because while Jake Jensen will be serving as Mayava's backup in the Holiday Bowl, he is also transferring after this season. So that's everything going on with football. Definitely make sure that next week we will preview the Vegas Bowl, as that game will be on the 27th against Texas A&M. Women's volleyball, meanwhile, saw both outside hitter Allie Batenhorst and setter Mia Tuaniga make the AVCA All-Pacific Region team. So big congrats to both of them. Wish them the best of luck as they turn pro soon, and they will actually face each other in their first game when the Omaha Supernovas, who drafted Batenhorst, and the Atlanta Vibe, who drafted Tuaniga, will face each other for the Pro Volleyball Federation's in their Pro Volleyball Federation debuts in January. So that should definitely be an intriguing match. If it works with my schedule, I want to watch that game. Meanwhile, for soccer, congrats to both Brooklyn Courtnell and Elena Sampaio on making the All America first team, and Miley Hayes for making the third team. So definitely, really, as I've said before, this was a really special team to watch. Even though they were playing on the off campus for most of the all season, it was still really fun to get to go watch them a few times throughout the season and really see just how special they were. And especially like I think it was definitely cool getting to especially see Sampaio play, especially because I've talked about that feature I did on her about that one goal she had against Indiana, just really trended on social media and really was just such an insane goal. And she has had more like them since that goal, which has been absolutely insane. Some transfer news from the soccer team actually was they added on Thursday Columbia midfielder Sofia Cavalier. I hope I'm saying that right for next season. She spent 4 years at Columbia, and since Ivy League athletes can't redshirt or play grad years, she's looking to come to USC to continue to play her final year. And speaking of transfer news, actually, I did forget something with volleyball real quick that I'd like to circle back to. Middle blocker Lindsay Miller, who spent 3 years at USC after spending her first 2 years of college at Notre Dame, will be going to Purdue for her final year of eligibility. So wish her the best of luck. Can't say I'm too surprised considering she only saw action in one match this season, but wish her all the best in her final year at Purdue. Meanwhile, we'll move some tennis news actually. Men's tennis announced their spring schedule last week, and the first and as with their first slate of matches as members of the Big Ten. So it'll definitely be interesting to see kind of how Pac-12 tennis versus Big Ten tennis goes. And their first match will be against San Diego State on January 19th at 10 a.m. at David X. Marks Tennis Stadium, with the Big Ten Championships being held in Columbus, Ohio this season. Women's tennis, meanwhile, also announced their 2025 spring schedule, and they will also be in Big Ten for the first time this year. Their first matches will be at the Hawaii Invitational, which will be hosted by the University of Hawaii from January 8th through 11th. First home match will be against Texas on January 17th at 12 p.m. at David X. Marks Tennis Stadium. Big Ten Championships for women will be held in Ojai, California. So now move on to sports that had game action this week. Women's basketball had 2 games this week. They beat Fresno State last Tuesday, 89-40, and beat Elon yesterday afternoon, 88-30. So against Fresno State, we'll start with that game. Kiki Iriafen led with 24 points. Juju Watkins had 21. And Fresno State started the game off kind of hot, but things quickly turned about halfway through the first quarter, and USC never looked back after that. So definitely a little bit of a scare at first, but USC figured out how to take care of business and put the Bulldogs away early, which is really satisfying to see them get easy win and just made for a nice study break, I gotta say, just especially with finals. I did just get through my finals earlier this morning, but I'm all done now. So definitely nice to have basketball as a bit of a study break to just, help decompress and also not stress me up too much. And then against Elon yesterday, there's actually a bit of a crazy game because there was a power outage at Galen Center yesterday. So about half an hour before tip-off, just all the lights go out and just we were pretty much in the dark. They were initially at some lights up in the upper deck in the nosebleed area up, so it wasn't completely pitch black, but the game got delayed by about half an hour. Power was up for a half an hour, results in the game being delayed about 30 minutes or so. But it definitely just was left everyone kind of chaotic and just it's kind of just crazy just being in there in just the dark and just talking to people trying to figure out when this was gonna get going again. But once action began, USC dominated the game. Watkins led with 26 points. Iriafen had 18. And Iriafen did get named to the Big Ten honor roll for her contributions to USC this week. And also another player I want to bring up who just had herself a game against the Phoenix was Kaylee Heckel. And I know I've talked a lot about her, but I just want to bring up the fact that she just had herself a game. And this one you actually saw on the box score. But as usual, she's doing stuff that doesn't appear on the box score either. She had 14 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists, and 4 steals. and just played relentless defense, always hustling on the court. I love her seeing her effort just constantly when she's out there. She's throwing her body on the floor. Like she is just relentless. And I just love how just passionate and just energetic she is when she is on that court. It is really fun to watch. So USC now 10-1 on the season. They did drop 2 spots from 5th to 7th in this week's AP poll. Can't say I'm surprised considering the quality of the opponents, and Notre Dame did beat UConn, who USC faces on Saturday. We'll get into that in a second. But for those reasons, I can't say I'm too surprised, but at this point, still doesn't matter too much right now. Still a long season to go. USC's at 10-1. They're 11 games in. Still got almost, still got almost 20 games left. Not quite, but roughly about that. So still a lot to play for, and they could definitely move up if they get a big win against UConn, who is 9-1. They play them on Saturday at 5 p.m. on Fox, and that will be at UConn. So it's going to be a really tough game, and USC just needs to play probably some of its best basketball of the season and need to play with the same type of energy and determination that they had against Fresno State and Elon, even though it's going to be a tougher opponent to take them down. And UConn's only loss is to Notre Dame, who beat USC at Galen. And Paige Beckers is going to be a player to watch, and she'll probably go off and have a really good game. She always does. Like right now, she's projected as the #1 pick in the 2025 WNBA draft. So USC needs to be ready for her. But I think it's going to be a great game nonetheless. And I got a chance to watch the game on Thursday between Notre Dame and UConn. Notre Dame really picked UConn apart, and USC just needs to, I think, really dive into that film and just find those weaknesses that the Irish did in order to beat them and avenge their loss from last year against the Huskies in the Elite Eight. But really just should be a great game no matter what. Also, it sounds like Juju Watkins, who's just been getting a ton of NIL and sponsorship deals, is getting at 19 years old. So this is unrelated to basketball, but something I saw in Front Office Sports this morning that I want to bring up that just shows just how impressive and just everything that's going on with her is just she's going to invest in Unrivaled, which is the 3-on-3 basketball league. So I think that's really cool. Just see how much she's just been able to build on her platform and just both as a player and just both on and off the court. And it's really been cool to see just the impact she's had and just drawing fans. Because right now, just with how things are at USC, she is right now the face of the university. I'll just say that right now. She's probably the most recognizable person on campus, especially because of how well her team is playing and just how much of a star she came in when she was at USC and just how much that's just been elevated this year too, especially just, bigger stage in the Big Ten and just now that people know that USC is for real and just has been continuing to play really well. And Lindsey Gottlieb's 4th season at the helm. So it's been really fun to watch this team. They're one of the most fun teams to watch on campus, especially when you have someone like Watkins in that star position as the face of the school. So finally, today we'll talk about men's basketball. So they only had one game this week, and it was against Montana State, 89-63 win. So former Trojan Max Agbongpolo returned to Galen Center for the first time since leaving 3 years ago. When I was lined up for the women's game before it, because it was a doubleheader at Galen yesterday, I saw him as the Bobcats were leaving Galen from their morning workout, and he recognized me. I recognized him, of course. And I was like, "Hey, Max, great to see you. Welcome back." He's like, "Thanks." So cool interaction I had with him. So still, you know what? Definitely excited to, get to see him play. But obviously, I was cheering for USC for sure, and it was definitely a Muss Bus Christmas. So this is why I'm wearing this really cool ugly Christmas sweater with the Muss Bus, which is, kind of been the whole theme of this year. It's just the Muss Bus. They've really embraced it this year. And after the game, I got to go get a pic with him and a couple other students because they wanted to get a photo, kind of highlight the whole Muss Bus theme. And all of us wearing these Muss Bus hoodies. So I put one on after the game, even though I was getting told you got to put it on now for the game. And I'm like, I'll wear it. I'll wear it for my podcast tomorrow. I promise. And actually, because I had on when I filmed my post game video that went up on my Instagram earlier today, I was wearing it just because I didn't want to take it back off. And I was going to have to put it on. It's going to be cold outside. But anyways, on to the game itself now. Desmond Claude led with 19 points. St. Thomas had 7. Chibuzo Agbo had 12. And Matt Noling had 10 off the bench. So you saw a lot of Trojans really just playing well yesterday. And I thought that was really great to see. USC just dominated the first half and held steady in the second to just put the Bobcats away and just get a big win in this final stretch of the non-conference schedule. 2 more non-conference games left that are coming up this week. So that kind of gives us a good transition. USC is now 7-4 on the season. They face CSUN, who is 7-3 on Wednesday night. That game, and Southern, who's 5-4 on Sunday. Both those games will be televised on the Big Ten Network. For both these games, USC just needs to take control early and dominate from there, like they did against the Bobcats yesterday. Especially since CSUN is off to a good start, they could be one of the better teams of the Big West. I'm not sure. But it kind of seems like the Big West has kind of been starting to up its basketball game a little bit. I'd probably have to, frankly, might have to ask Bryce Pope about it if I get a chance, considering he came from UC San Diego, so he knows all about Big West ball. And then considering, and since Southern is from the SWAC conference as well, and USC struggled against Grambling, a fellow SWAC school, might be a similar type of play. So USC just needs to, also start off strong and just not let Southern hang around. Basically, they just need to get there early and just knock both teams out just kind of take control early and just take care of business to try to lead to some easy wins before you get into the thick of Big Ten schedule, which is going to be coming up really quickly and within the next month. So real Big Ten tests are coming quick. So USC needs to be ready. So finally, to close out, last week I went 3-0 in the games I went to. So 2-0 in men's basketball, 1-0 in women's basketball. Puts me at 6-2 at men's basketball in the season, 6-1 in women's. I'm now 39-12 on the season and 251-94 all time. So, like I said, just probably happen unfortunately at some point because that's how sports go, but trying to avoid loss number 100. It's not going to be a milestone I'm proud of getting to witness. But so for this week, not going to be too much, especially with the holidays and everything going on. I'm still figuring out my family plans. So for sure, I'll be on Wednesday's game against CSUN. And then depending on what my family plans look like over the break, we still are figuring all that out, especially because I'm going to go home in a few days. Still figuring out a lot right now. So depending on all that, if I'm around in town, I will be at Southern, but if I'm in town, otherwise I may miss that one. So got to figure out the travel plans there. Anyways, that is our episode for today. Thank you everyone who's been tuning in, subscribing, supporting, and following me. It's been an honor. It means the world to me that you all take the time to do this every week and just support all my work. It's been a ton of fun. I look forward to keep bringing you coverage. Obviously, next week we'll talk a bit more in depth about the Vegas Bowl. I'll also bring you any latest news and developments throughout the other sports as we kind of gear up to go through the holidays and then into the spring semester. So everyone who's listening who still has finals, best luck. Go crush it. I know you'll do great. Happy holidays, everyone. Obviously, I'll see you before Christmas, but it's that time right now, so I'll just say it now. Happy holidays. Thank you again, everyone, for all your support, and fight on.